Recording in progress.
Alrighty, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. Taking the podium with Nashville SC head coach Gary Smith. We'll let Coach give an opening statement, then we'll go to the floor, and then we'll go to Zoom for questions. Coach, whenever you're ready.
Well, I thought it was a very confident and comprehensive display tonight. Miami have been in very good form. They've certainly started to get themselves into a groove and in their stride, and I thought from minute one we imposed ourselves on the game and were able to make that breakthrough in a period in that first half that I thought possessionally and territorially we dominated. Biggest question was, could we break down that Miami group to a greater degree and give ourselves a bigger lead? Their changes at the half to try and get themselves back in the game, I think, opened the game up a little bit more. And the second half, there were, I thought, far more chances and opportunities, in fairness, their way as well, of course. But in the end, a really good victory.
We'll start with Ben Wright, then we'll go to Claudio. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, Gary, we've heard from a couple of players in the past, I think Hani particularly, just talking about how they want to break teams down and control the ball when they're up a goal. There were a couple of spells, like in the second half, when you guys were just passing it around Miami and really controlling the game in possession. Were you pleased with how you guys used the ball?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a little bit more maturity in the group as this team continues to develop, and there have been a couple of shifts and changes to the way that we've played and maybe some of the roles within the group. But I think there's just a really nice development around the team and an understanding. Tonight you saw a lot of confidence within the group. That comes from good results, playing well, of course. And just as importantly, I think, having confidence in the guys around you. And there were some terrific spells. I think more so in the first half, we controlled the game without being really, penetrating enough. And in the second half, as it opened up a little bit more, there were some really great moments. And obviously Jacobs was maybe the clearest opportunity to extend that lead. But once we get in front, and the opposing team has to come out of what was a very organised shell in that first period, there were many moments I thought that we made some really good choices. But it's finding that breakthrough is not always easy.
Go ahead, Claudio.
Gary, most football coaches will say that they're not young good players or old good players. Perhaps Aníbal Godoy is one of the best examples. Finding where a guy like him, he seems to get better and better every day.
Like a fine wine. Like a fine wine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the game, at least in my opinion, the game played tonight, it was an awesome display of a guy that is not only a veteran but a great leader in the field. Would you agree on that?
I absolutely agree with that. I thought all of Annabelle's qualities were on display tonight. He imposed himself on the game with the ball. He makes some really nice choices. His techniques are smooth and clean. He protects the ball well, and it's, you don't always see that. It's a fine art to protect the ball and to move it quickly when you've got a little bit more time to maybe be a little bit more creative. The ball that typifies that is probably the one that he played into Hani for the goal. A terrific little ball over the back line from a deeper area. There's got to be a lot of feeling in that, and there was, and obviously Hani produced an incredible bit of skill. But then on the other side of the ball, you see energy, you see competitiveness, you see an individual who's committed to the team, and of course to winning the ball back in that team shape and rhythm. A really, really good performance. One of many I thought tonight. There were some fine displays, and he was certainly up there.
Go ahead, Mike.
Gary, how much, if any, impact did next week's game in the U.S. Open have on this game, on the way you went about it?
Not really. We have a league game with 3 points on the line tonight. Charlotte in between. There's a huge amount that can happen between now and then. My main focus was putting a team out that was going to win the game tonight. It's another home game, it's another victory, it's another 3 points towards that postseason. And, you know, whilst we can't confirm any positions, and nor can any team at this point, all we can do is keep working towards that magic number that's going to get us in. And tonight, that was the only thing on my mind.
Does this result give you, does it give either team any edge next week?
I don't think any edge. I think we will have both learned a lot about each other. We've not seen Miami because we were in the West last year for a little while. We've had some terrific games against them, and they are a much improved side. They've some terrific players. Campana showed what he's about tonight. You know, seeing him up close for a prolonged period. Really like the boy that they signed, Arroyo in midfield. And of course Miller, who they've signed just recently, is, you know, a high calibre player. So we will have learned a lot out of what we've seen tonight, but I'm sure Phil will as well. They go back home at the weekend. You know, they're going to be in a comfortable position to prepare, and I'm sure it'll be a really challenging game in the last 16.
Go, Blair.
Gary, we saw it towards the end today when Jacob Chavora came on. Hani Mukhtar was pretty much, you know, up there on his own. We haven't seen your team play without a striker, number 9,
Recording
a lot.
stopped.
Is that something we're going to see more of, or are you trying new things? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the fact that Teal put a huge amount of effort into the game, and Teal's game's very much based on being that focal point. There's a lot of physical edge to that, and I know that he's our most experienced, prominent number 9. I wanted to try and give him a rest if I could. I'm sure that final 20 minutes or whatever it was will have served him well. He doesn't put himself at risk into those final moments when the body's at its most fatigued. And we've seen, you know, Hani plays as a striker anyway. I think it's the combination. If we were asking Hani to hold the ball up and we're going to, you know, make it an aerial battle, then it's not going to work. But what you saw was that combination of players coming into the game of Jacob, Yang coming on, a bit of energy and some freshness in there, and of course Randall coming into the game, who had a lovely impact, and we've not seen him for a long time. I thought he was terrific on the ball. I really did. Looked like he'd never been away. So I think it's that combination of players that obviously help Hani, and in the way that he plays, and in those final moments of the game when he was up top, I thought he was absolutely outstanding. I mean, honestly, I think he could play centre half as well, Hani. He could play anywhere on the field. The only place I wouldn't want to put him is in goal.
I was going to ask.
Yeah. Top corners would be a problem.
We'll go to Nicholas, then back to Ben, then we'll go to Tim. Go ahead, Nick.
Gary, congrats on the win. I want to ask a little bit about Lucas McNaughton's production in the last few games, obviously on short notice, and he's been fitting pretty well with the team recently. What are your thoughts on him?
I mean, he's been absolutely outstanding. I mean, that's the easiest way of putting it. Look, everyone requires something different as a coach from their centre backs, and if you're coming into this team, you've got to be able to do a couple of things. One is you've got to be able to head it, and he does that very, very well. Number 2, you've got to be able to make a challenge and be forceful, show some aggression, you know, make your mark on the game, upset a forward, put him out of his rhythm. He does that terrifically well. He reads the game well. He gets pressure on the ball. He doesn't allow forwards to turn and have an easy night. And that's tough for forwards when they know that that's coming. He's also mobile, and he's capable on the ball. You know, I'm not going to say that he's, at this moment in time, the most creative centre-back in the league or the best on the ball, but he's more than capable. And, you know, if that's the only area of his game that he falls slightly short, that's not going to be a problem for me or our team. He's done an absolutely wonderful job in a time when we needed someone to step up the plate and actually fill some very, very big shoes. And I think he's done it very, very well.
Ben, you still need to follow?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You guys are unbeaten in the last 5 wins out of the last 6. You got Randall back. You hopefully have Walker coming back soon, an open DP spot. track for one of the best defensive performances in the league. Do you feel pretty good about where this team is and your ability to not just compete for the playoffs, but push for trophies?
Yeah, I think that's always going to be the mindset, Ben. You know, we've seen so often in this league that you can be in a very good place and complacency sets in. I don't think that'll happen to this group, but you can never be sure. It only takes one bad result, one poor result, and all of a sudden people are questioning what's going on. So while we're in this run, we want to try and reinforce some of the football that we've played. Our style at home has been aggressive and far more productive and positive. So that's an area we need to keep reinforcing. As far as players coming back into the group, it's absolutely wonderful to have Randall back and in a position. He needs some more football before, you know, we could probably see him for a little bit longer, but he's certainly made some nice strides tonight. Walker might be slightly different. I don't think it will be, you know, a long-term problem, but he's certainly not reacted, if you like, to the work that he did in the week as we would have all liked, and obviously he. As far as the forward goes, we'll continue that search. You know, we'll keep looking. There's lots of discussions about who, what, where, and why players could be available, and you know, what sort of impact they could have for us. But at this point in time, I don't think we should, you know, be concerning ourselves with that. We're in, you know, what would be classed as a, you know, a closed window. We've got work to do. We'll just keep trying to add points to the board. Yes, I think we can keep our run going and we can stay competitive. Where that takes us, I couldn't tell you at this point. But what I do know is, if you work with the right attitude and you continue to perform at the sort of level you've seen tonight, there's no reason why we shouldn't be competing in that top four, which is obviously what we'd love to achieve and get ourselves a home playoff game. But I'm certainly not going to, you know, get too excited at this point in time. There's too much football. There's too many things that can happen. There's too many scenarios really that we just don't have answers to. So it really is about our group. They keep working. They keep competing.
Go ahead, Tim.
Hey Gary, you said Lucas McNaughton's not the most creative center back in the league. You don't need him to be, since you've now pronounced that Hani Mukhtar is a center back. He's the most creative one in the league.
There you go. Yeah.
On a serious note, the assist that Hani had to Fafa, the spectacular is basically mundane because Hani does it so frequently. But what is your kind of reaction to that sort of play when you see it happen on the touchline there?
I mean, when you see that sort of skill and that high level, you know, technique and calibre of his play in tight areas inside the penalty box, you know, his awareness and appreciation of you know, where the pressure is and the sort of space he has. It's not just about performing the skill, which is a very, very good skill. There's so much disguise in it. It is about knowing where players are. There was an awful lot to do, of course, when he brought the ball down. And to be perfectly honest, the pass that he picks out was, you know, it may have looked straightforward, but I think Fafa's run makes the goal as well. He gets himself into a fantastic spot at that near post. And I think in the end, if I'm right, it went through the goalkeeper's legs. You know, he did a good job, the goalkeeper, of covering that near post. But look, he proves time and time again, Hani, what a high level player he is. You know, just how influential he is. You know, a fantastic display again tonight. It's not just the creation of the first goal which separates the teams, and it's a really, really important goal. I can't stress that enough, because at that point in time, Miami were in a position where they may have conceded ground and possession, but you know, there were few sights a goal, and to make that breakthrough is so important. You know, he proves yet again just, you know, where he sits in the hierarchy of talent in this league, I think.
Go ahead, Tim.
And then, obviously you guys never want to concede, but given the fact that it came on basically the last kick of the game. How do you feel about that goal that Miami was able to score? Is it something that bothers you based on the way it happened? Does it not bother you because it didn't impact the result?
Listen, any goal that goes in bothers me. Truly. There is no reason why we shouldn't have kept a clean sheet tonight. Now, I'm far more interested, of course, in bagging 3 points. But given the scenario that we found ourselves in going into the final corner of the game, given the fact that Campana had a fantastic opportunity, but 3 or 4 minutes before that, I will look back at the video, but I'm almost certain with the changes in the game that there were 1 or 2 players that were not fulfilling their roles. That's the easiest way of putting it. There are a lot of guys that changed in and out and moved positions and zones in that penalty area, but there were 1 or 2 that were not doing their jobs properly. And the goal came from that. It's still a good finish, but it was avoidable, for sure. And I'm just pleased that it obviously didn't cost us points.
So tonight is going to also serve as match day -2 ahead of Charlotte. Coach, I know a quick turnaround, just your quick thoughts on the match this weekend against Charlotte FC.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've not got my head too much into Charlotte in general because of the game tonight. It's always difficult. Tomorrow, the process starts again. A couple of days, quick turnaround. This one is always more difficult because we lose, that day towards the weekend. Charlotte are in a great run. I saw tonight that they came from behind to win at home 2-1. They've put themselves in a fantastic spot. In many ways, not dissimilar to the way that Miami have turned their campaign around after a difficult run. When we played there, I want to say 2 years ago, wasn't last year, I think it was the year before. Charlotte.
Last year.
It was last year. Well, we got a good hiding there last year then. I thought it was the year before, time flies. But it was a very difficult environment. They took care of business on the day and they took care of it well. And I think we will have learnt an awful lot from that appearance and that result. One thing we do know is it won't be easy. I think they've rounded into some nice form. So we'll prepare tomorrow and Friday and we'll be ready for whatever they throw at us on Saturday.